you know, for a long time, people thought they were a mountain,
Hmm.
and come to find out that there's some frequencies happening there currently. But if, the Earth was rewound in its galactic, along the galactic plane of where it, from where it is now to where it was when those things were constructed, could they have served another purpose?
Hmm.
Was there different energetics happening, different benefits from it? So those are all kind of questions that might raise in the grand scheme of things.
Very much so. A lot of people who have investigated the whole concept of Stargate and have gone to these ancient locations, and of course, nothing apparently is happening anymore. And it could be very well based on the idea that not only the Earth, but the entire solar system and the plane of the galaxy is moving constantly. So something that was built in ancient times to correspond possibly with some kind of natural energetic fields that could lead to the development of these kind of wormholes. Well, now we're not kind of, we're out of alignment with those original ones. And there are new ones now, but we no longer have that either the technology or the maybe the psychic sense to be able to tell, with the exception of, like I said before, these dowsers who are able to locate these things. I think that if we did more research into how the ancient peoples were able to establish these locations, we may have a better idea on uh, on how this kind of ability could be resurrected. I mean, we have some hints. I said before, like Skinwalker Ranch could be a good location. The Bermuda Triangle seems to be a location that would probably be good for either or building or locating some kind of Stargate or interdimensional, types of portals. There are other locations around the planet, but again, these things are constantly shifting, and I mean, who knows what their half-life is? Some of them it may just be a matter of a few years. Others maybe, a couple of hundred years. It will be interesting to see if 100 years from now, someplace like the Bermuda Triangle is still experiencing the same kind of weird effects that we're seeing now. Same for the Skinwalker Walker Ranch and other locations. We'll probably see other locations around the planet becoming known for the same kind of effects.
Yeah, and within the recent human memory, a couple hundred years is just a blip, and
It is.
it's very interesting to think along those lines. I'd like to get into talking a little bit about some of the technological, more modern day approaches to, I guess, some different outcomes that could be linked to the possibility of Stargates being a reality from a technology standpoint. The first of which would be the outcome of what happened with the Philadelphia experiment, and as part of embracing some, I think it was some Tesla and Einstein technology combined to try to cloak the ship. I'm trying to remember the name of the ship, but
Supposedly it was the SS Eldridge, but it's debatable.
so the outcome of that is, through different levels of disclosure, or I guess, I don't know if disclosure is the right word for it, but there is that people have posited that it changed locations from one harbor to another, and that on the other end you had, basically the ship rematerialize with men in the hull, and things kind of in disarray, and some very harsh psychological effects on the occupants of the ship.
Hmm. Yeah, the Philadelphia experiment is very controversial. Whether or not it happened exactly as has been described is debatable. I think, though, that there is enough evidence that's been uncovered over the years, to point that something did happen. Now, like you said, there seems to be an Einstein Tesla connection with this because apparently the original idea was that they were trying to come up with a way to make these ships invisible to radar, not not invisible to the eye or anything like that. I mean, nobody was even thinking along these lines. They were looking to make it invisible to radar and also invisible to magnetic mines. Because the Axis were dumping mines that would be attracted to the metal hulls of the ship, and they would attach themselves and blow up. So they were trying to come up with a way to degauss the ship so these mines wouldn't be attracted to them. And also, then on top of that, they had the idea using the same techniques of a rotating electromagnetic field around the hull of the ship so that radar would basically just bounce off of it, go around it, and they wouldn't appear. Now, Tesla, who was pretty old and not in great health at that time, volunteered the use of his Tesla coil because at first they were going to use Van de Graaff generators, same things that you had in your classrooms when you were a kid, that you'd touch them and your hair would stand on end. Unfortunately, a Van de Graaff generator, you would have to have one that was probably about 20 feet tall in order to generate enough power to generate the massive electromagnetic energy that was needed for this. A Tesla coil, however, you only needed a couple of really fairly small ones within the ship to generate enough energy for this. Uh, However, after Tesla started working with this, he realized, well, first of all, he told them that we can do this, but you don't want to have people on board. This is extremely dangerous. This amount of electromagnetic energy would not be good on the health of the sailors on board. However, he was told that they were going to do the experiments with a full complement of voluntary crew on board. So Tesla withdrew and said, I'm not going to be responsible for this. And shortly thereafter, he died of a heart attack. The other scientists who then came on board went ahead using the notes and research that Tesla had with this, and they brought in a voluntary crew, and the first experiment had it, as legend goes, they were in the Philadelphia shipyards, and when they threw the switch, the ship not only became invisible to radar, but it disappeared completely and appeared almost instantaneously in the Norfolk, Virginia harbor. Um, uh, it remained for really just a few seconds, disappeared again, and then reappeared back in Philadelphia. When officers then went on board, they found that the ship appeared to be in very good condition, no problems. The sailors on board, though, those that were still there, because a lot of them had just disappeared, some of them were fused within the bulkhead of the ship. Others were paralyzed. Supposedly, they were just like statues. They were still alive, but they couldn't move. they didn't even know whether or not there was any brain function.